Good morning, YouTube. We're going to do a little demonstration here cleaning an SKS standard model 56 Chinese SKS. Very simply, let's do our checks. Open the gun up, make sure the chamber's clear. You can open up your box clip. You know we're on safety. Okay, if you remember the safety from previous shows, videos, there we have, that's on fire, that's on safety. For disassembling and cleaning the SKS, you want to have it on safety. Okay? Now, very simply, what we're going to do here is we have to separate the action from the wood, the stock. Take a normal 762 by 39 will work. This will be like field strip. You place it in that little drilled out recess there on the whole pin for the trigger assembly, and you push. That's probably the hardest part. It's pretty hard to push, but it only took a bullet to do that. Then lift the trigger assembly right out. With this still open, you can lift the box clip right out. Okay, there you have the trigger assembly, box assembly. Now I recommend that you would pull the bolt back. That'll allow it to drop, the retainer to drop. Bolt can go forward. At this point you can separate the stock from the action. Now you've seen this in another video that I've produced, and that's no problem. We're going to go a little further today. For cleaning purposes, let's take that same bullet and get that little clip that's on the right side, the back of the action. What we'll do there is just pry that little clip. This takes a little bit of muscle too, but okay, when that clip comes up around like that, okay, hopefully that's visible. What we're going to do is put a little thumb pressure right there on the back of that shroud, or part of the action. It'll help this clip come loose. Okay, once the clip is out that far, this whole metal shroud top comes loose. It reveals the spring for the action. Now you can take this whole action and slide it back. It'll basically come apart into two pieces. There's your top bolt part. There's your bottom bolt. Ready? There's your basic. Now, for your front gas assembly, take your cartridge again. There's a little lever at the bottom of the sight assembly. You'll have to bring that lever up. You can almost do it by hand, but it takes the cartridge assist doing that. Okay, bringing that little lever up, bring it up to a point where this one here, there we go. Okay, you just simply pull up on your gas tube assembly, and it comes right off the gun by having that. If you can see about where that lever is in position, you'll have to find it. You can feel it kind of. There's your gas tube and the piston. Be very careful with the piston. Don't drop or do anything that would bend or damage it. Now, if you continue with this lever a little further, I would suggest putting your thumb there just somewhere in that area to catch that. Maybe stay away a little further. It might hit your thumb. I don't want to be liable for any damage, but you take the lever up a little further, and another spring and push piston comes out. Now there's your basic disassembly of an SKS. This is now basically a gutted action. Everything's out. It can be cleaned and serviced. Now to put it back together, just simply that slides back in. It's going to take a little thumb pressure to get it back far enough that this will hold it in place. Now see, I'm going to have to push back a little further now. There we go. Okay, that's holding that in place. You slide your piston back in the housing there. Step that on there first. Find the groove right there. It goes right down into there. You push that down to its original hole where it's retained in there. Okay, that is back in that position. So your other piston's in there, your gas piston housing is in there. Okay, now at this point, your lower bolt, your upper bolt, you see they'll fit right together like that. That's how you know you have them. How they look from the front. That's the okay. So they slide them in. Now this takes a little finagling and feel. But there we go. Once they're in the track, there's just the top off there. But once they get in the track, they fit together very nicely normally. I've always liked putting them together as a unit for myself. Again, these go together. Okay, so they slide right back in. That may take a little getting used to for the feel of that. This spring will go back in there. The shroud goes back. Now I use this bottom catch here as a, make sure your retainer clip, your little clip's out as far as it can go. Okay, now I've just pushed the pin in, that's pinned this shroud, the cover. Make sure it goes in the whole way. Make sure that pin goes in tight, and then you turn it down. Now that's the action pretty well together again. Everything is functioning. With that little retainer clip, you can hold that bolt back, or when you let it go, it drops down. There we go. At this point, you want to slip it back in your stock. Hold that little clip up so your bolt stays back. Box clip goes back in. It helps sometimes if you open your box clip a little bit, the bottom part, leave the main housing in. Trigger assembly, if it's not cocked, it should be. And the procedure I showed you by opening the bolt first before we disassembled it cocks the trigger assembly. If the hammer is forward, if this hammer is forward, I recommend putting it in a cocked position to reassemble it. Makes it a little easier. Okay, you find that pin there. Trigger assembly goes back together. And then just a good swift squeeze or a little pop with your hand, and it's all back together again. Okay, releasing that, releases the clip, lets the bolt. Everything is back in order again. I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much, and happy shooting.